And welcome inside the Backstage Pass. It is Tuesday, and of course, the first full week, I guess, of August here. Excited to be back with you on a daily basis here, featuring the best and brightest talent here on the Backstage Pass, powered by the Sports Guys Podcast.com and presented by our friends over at Bangtail Whiskey and Honky Tonk, Texas. You can also check us out at hightidecountry.net on the internet radio side of things, 5 days a week out there. Pleased to welcome in my feature artist of the day, and man, she's killing it out there. And the debut EP, More Than a Bad Habits, coming out August 18th for the debut EP with
Yeah.
these country jams out there. Tracielynn to the show. Tracy, how you doing?
I'm doing good, Brandon. Thanks for having me. Yeah, super excited. Got a big project coming out on the 18th that I'd love to talk more with you about. Exciting stuff. Never done it before. I've released singles up until now, so a debut EP is something to talk about.
Well, it should be too. And like I said, pre-order now on Tracy's of socials out there. The link is there. Make sure you guys do that, and you can check out three for best songs out there right now too. And I'm gonna get right into it. Like I said, dive in the deep end of the pool here because we were talking before the show a little bit. This jam, this theme of one of the songs on there, "All Goes South," and I wasn't gonna ask you the favorite one to perform on stage, but you were talking a little bit there before the show how this is kind of like the show intro, bring you on stage. But this is just such a great jam for country music, and I'm sure like the live stages, the audience really has to get into this particular song, and this has to be fun to play live.
It like we were talking earlier, like it hits harder live.
Mm-hmm.
It just does because not only are you hearing it, you're like experiencing it and you're feeling that bass and you're like seeing the energy on stage to where we decided, or I decided, I was like, I really want to just kick off the shows with this song just to kind of like be like, hey, this is what the rest of the show is going to be like. So let's just come out strong. And we
Mm-hmm.
just kind of turned the beginning of the song. We just made it longer. We created this whole walk on segment part of the song that goes directly into All Go South. And it just kind of sets the foundation of
Mm-hmm.
like the rest of the set and what's yet to come. So I love it. It's a fun song. The energy is real. It is hype. It's a good one. I got more of those good ones coming though.
I can't wait for this record to come out too, which is More Than a Bad Habit on, I just love that title, on August 18th. So the
Yeah.
writing of this song, let's back up a couple steps as far as this one coming together, like the full picture of this and the jam itself. Where did the idea come from with this particular song?
So this particular song, actually, I was in a meeting with Seagale Music, and one of my good friends, Jeb, is a writer there. And he's one of the writers, as well as Forrest Whitehead, on this song. So I
Mm-hmm.
did not write that song, but it was pitched to me. And of course, the demo always sounds, when you're sitting in a meeting and somebody plays you a song they're pitching it to you, it sounds very different. It's essentially just like a blueprint really of what a song
Mm-hmm.
could sound like. So as soon as I heard, like, literally I heard the first verse and the first chorus and I was like, I want it. I was like, I have a vision for it. So we immediately went into the studio and we just cranked it out. And it really, like, I remember sitting there with my producer while we're all in there with like the musicians and everything, like tracking everything. I was
Mm-hmm.
like, this song is like, the production side of it is like kind of like I'm paving the road for kind of more so the direction I'm wanting to go. It almost reminded me, and I don't even know if I should say this, if I'm really allowed to say this, but it kind of reminded me of like an Aldine kind of
Mm-hmm.
like production wise, what it sounded like. And I freaking loved it. I was like, this is good. And it's still to this day, like I said, it's one of my favorite songs to perform on stage. It kills. It's awesome.
I love how, and even in your music too, the writing or the songs that you acquire, you're not afraid to make a statement in your songs. Like this is like real country. This is down home. This is coming from like a personal experience. Is that always been something that has kind of been your moniker as well?
To a certain degree.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know what's the best way to say this. Some things I'll embellish on a little bit as far as experiences will go, of course, to make for the better story.
Mm-hmm.
But normally, the foundation of a song um, is real. Is real.
Mm-hmm.
Even with songs I've written and songs that have been pitched to me, I always try to make sure that it is something that I directly can relate to, because if I can't, then I feel like that'll be apparent when I'm singing it. If I can't
Mm-hmm.
put that emotion into it and that me being able to relate to it, then that'll come across, it'll be obvious. So to a certain degree, it depends on the song. Um,
Yeah, and it makes a lot of sense too. And what song can make somebody feel something in a certain way, and if it's going to be kind of
yeah,
a hopefully a positive effect out there too, and definitely brighten someone's day, and definitely I know sometimes it deflates some people, and it has to build them back up, or they have to find a second track on the record or an album to
right.
do that too as well, because songs make you feel happy, sad, and a lot of different emotions. Talk about your road just in this whole
Yeah.
line of music and being an artist. I believe you came to Music City 2019 and kind of followed that dream of being an artist, but it seemed like you were born into this thing called music. Talk about that a little bit.
Yeah, so that's a long story. Do you have a bottle of wine? Should I
I
just go
do.
get
Let's just open one.
one? um, so yeah, growing up, I was constantly surrounded by music. My dad was heavily involved in music. He actually, and I think this is in my bio or maybe one of the many bios online, but
Hmm.
he proposed to my mom at one of his like boy band concerts. So while my mom was still in college and he had graduated because he's a few years older, he had always been doing music.
Hmm.
Um, she was there at a show, like front row, he was on stage, and the backdrop was this giant sheet that just dropped down that he had painted on, like, Denise, will you marry me? And so to this day, they have that sheet somewhere. But yeah, growing up, constantly surrounded by music, lots of banjo. So a big bulk of it was more like bluegrass kind of stuff, which is not really my lane, but I can appreciate it and I like it, especially having grown up with it. But yeah, and so I had been, geez, I've been performing on stage honestly since I was probably like 6 or 7 years old.
Hmm.
Since I was allowed to, I've made the cut. Yeah, and then started going in the studio, kind of just recording stuff, cover songs, not original stuff, when I was about 10, 11 years old, just to kind of feel that out and really find my voice. Because if you have never been in a studio, and I'm not sure what like your studio setup
Hmm.
sounds like, but you really don't know what you sound like
Hmm.
until
True.
you hear yourself in that mic with the headphones
Hmm.
on. And so started doing that around 11, 12. And then I knew through doing that, I quickly realized I wanted to do country. I loved country.
Hmm.
It just hit home for me in a way that other genres maybe didn't. I also love rock, but country was
Hmm.
number one. And so once I kind of decided that, it was like, well, my parents were like, little girl, big dreams. Let's give her the dream. Let's bring her to Nashville. Let's get her in a studio in Nashville just to feel it out.
Hmm.
And so I did that. And then up until 3 years ago, it was like I was coming back and forth to Nashville enough to where it was like, I got to move there.
Hmm.
And you kind of, if you're wanting and you're really serious about doing country music, you cap out in other cities as far as like growth, and you can only grow so much. Well, this was 5 years ago. Nowadays with social media, I'm sure you can like grow anywhere.
Hmm.
But I needed, in order to take my career to the next step, I needed to move to Nashville. And even with all the social media out nowadays, I still tell people, like, if you're serious about it, move to Nashville. Everyone you need to know is here. You surround yourself with people all the time that are a handshake away from helping you take your career to the next level. So I did that. Um, 3 years ago, yeah, I told my husband,
Hmm.
I was like, I have this opportunity to work with this amazing Grammy Award winning producer, Luke Wooten,
Yeah.
and he wants to work with me, and we got to make this work. So let's get married, because we were engaged at the time. I was like, let's get married here, because I don't want to pack my bags, move to Nashville just to have to go back to Virginia, where I'm from,
Hmm.
to have a wedding. And he was like, okay, okay. So we packed our bags. We moved to Nashville 3 years ago so I could do music full time. Um, and yeah, the rest is history.
Yeah, it's really cool, and that's what I kind of tell myself. Follow your dream, do what you love to do. Don't take any regrets with you when your time is done
Right.
here. on earth. And I kind of started this back about 4 years ago, saw it through, and now some great things are happening and going to really happen in the future for this platform here too. And it reminds me of just a great song. And since I'm sponsored by a whiskey company, I'm going to take a break for that whiskey company. What a great transition this is. And then come talk about one of my favorite songs off the record, More Than a Bad Habit, which comes out August 18th. Ain't Enough Whiskey, which is from Tracielynn here on the show. See how I did that? Which is good there.
Oh, yeah.
Our friends at Bangtail Whiskey. If you want to drink, check them out at bangtail.com, easyliquor.com, the app. You can put an order in there, and guess what? It arrives in a box at your door, and it's 750 milliliters of good stuff out there. Mixes well with any cocktail. Our friends at Bangtail Whiskey, our friend Brandon Bing, and it's also available at Total Wine and Specs and at Live Oak in Nashville. So we're going to come back, talk more with Tracielynn on the record, More Than a Bad Habit here. It is the Backstage Pass, again, powered by the Sports Guys, podcast.com. High school football here in a couple of weeks. We'll be doing some kickoff coverage on that at CajunCountryRadio.com and also over at HighTideCountry.net. More with Tracielynn here. It is the Backstage Pass. Stay tuned. Go behind the scenes with some of the biggest artists in music today with the Backstage Pass, powered by the SportsGuysPodcast.com. Join Brandon Morrill and his co-host Kirsty Krause as they talk to rising stars and legends about their music careers. Listen to their latest tracks and learn fun facts about the men and women behind the music you love. And be sure to tune into the Backstage Pass Monday through Friday from 3:30 to 6:30, powered by the SportsGuysPodcast.com. And welcome into the Backstage Pass.
The Bangtail pour is comprised of a sweet corn mash base. The front has a subtle sweetness and not too sharp. It has notes of a medium char or white oak for a smoky flavor in the middle, and the tail has a super smooth and warm finish.
And back here on the show again, Tracielynn joining us here on the Backstage Pass. Tomorrow, our good friend Kelly Lang will come on here and talk about her new single here. If you don't know who Kelly Lang is, I guess you'll have to tune in tomorrow to find out too as well. No, I'm just kidding. She's the wife of the legendary T.G. Shepherd there and has done a lot of cool things in Nashville, Tennessee. And coming up here in a few weeks, remember the band Ricochet from the 90s? Heath Wright coming by here to talk about Ricochet, Daddy's Money, and a whole lot more here on the Backstage Pass, presented by Bangtail Whiskey and our friends at Honky Tonk Texas, honkytonktexas.us and bangtail.com. So this album is fantastic. I love it. Again, Tracielynn back here with us. More Than a Bad Habit, and which I mentioned there before we went to break, sponsored by a whiskey company, Ain't Enough Whiskey. Let's break this one down into, I guess, the right lane it should be. Never enough whiskey, but you really put a good feel on another great country song that I feel like is going to be a hit, if it's not a hit already, on this record. It seemed like the fans have really just kind of resonated with this, and I'm sure this is another kind of a good buzz at a live show.
Yeah. Ain't Enough Whiskey is fun. I mean, I feel like when I released that song, my headspace was very much actually I had that song for a hot second, but it reminded me of like, I'm married now, happily married. I've been with the same guy for like 8 years now, but before then, maybe I went through a few, but it reminded me of one of the breakups I had gone through. And, some breakups are easier than others, but, I feel like most are not. Most are pretty ugly. Mm-hmm. And I've always been a whiskey girl. I've always liked whiskey bourbon. Jameson Black Barrel is my favorite. That's what I drink before every show. Not to I just feel like it does what I want to the vocal cords. It's like that and a little bit of like honey magic. Mm-hmm. But yeah, I think I hit home with that song. It really is like, it's just your little reminder to those who need it. Like, don't waste your time or your energy on something. Like, I always like to say, you don't check on the trash after you've taken it out. Yeah. And so there ain't enough whiskey. There ain't enough of anything. If you're drinking Tracy's tequila, well, there ain't enough of that could possibly make you want to give that person any ounce of your time or energy. And I feel like the way we did the production on it too, instead of making it this bashing song, it's kind of tongue in cheek and quirky.
Mm-hmm. It is.
And that's exactly what I wanted out of it. I wanted it to be like more of this quirky, fun song. Mm-hmm. So that's why it's production wise, it's a little bit different too than like All Go South, just because they're two separate songs. But, and that one is really fun to perform too. I had a show like maybe this is 2 or 3 weeks ago. I don't even know. Today's August 8th. So it's in July. It was 4th of July weekend, I want to say. this girl, I was performing it on stage. And she had been singing all my songs, but this was like when Ain't Enough Whiskey was still, newer. I mean, not newer, a month ago, fresher, I guess. And she, from the start of the song, like she came out front in front of everybody and was singing all the words. And I was like, I got to get this girl up on stage. So I did. I like went around. I was like, will you come up on stage? And I was like, I really hope she does know these words or this is going to look ridiculous. She came up on stage. I gave her my mic and she knew all the words. She finished out the song. And I was like, thank you. You just made my job easier. Now I get to save my voice a little bit more too. So there we go.
That's so important to do that too in the industry too, and especially if you got those diehard fans, which are great there too, and they get a chance to sing a little bit too. They're always like, "Well, we paid the money to hear the artist sing," but I've gone to many shows out there too. People may say that, but you enjoy singing along with your favorite.
That's what it's all about. It's all about like if I can look out in the crowd, and even if you're not singing the words, if I can tell that you're honed in, and you're experiencing it, you're not just listening to it, then I've done my job. Like I want my shows to be an experience, not just you're hearing stuff. I want it to be a whole thing. I want it to make you feel some type of way, but yeah, that's a whole nother rabbit hole we could go down. But
no, we could do that too, and I may go down that rabbit hole. But I wanted to ask you about, speaking of the live shows, you seem like it's a natural fit for you. And I look at all these competitions that are out there now for younger artists to step on, like The Voice and things like American Idol, things like that. And one of the things they talk about, whoever the judges are for that show, is stage presence. You either have it or you don't. It's not something they really feel like they can teach you. They can give you critiquing on vocals and production of music. Kind of like you said earlier a little bit, you don't know what it's like to go into a studio until you've gone in the studio, put a headphones and hear what you sound like through a microphone. What's your take on some of these reality shows now and kind of how, I guess, they're handling, I guess, of younger artists? Are you a big fan of?
To be honest, I've gone on almost all of them, and they didn't, I didn't even sign up to go on them. They actually had reached out to me, and I clearly didn't make it on the shows. I think I'll keep it short and simple. If you can get on the show and you're on it, it is great exposure that is untouched. So, and it is an experience. If you can get on it, great. And if you don't get on it, do not brush it immediately off and keep going, because there are so many artists, that never even made it past the first round, and they're big name artists in this town.
True.
So it's great exposure if you can get on it. And I think it'd be a great experience, but it's not the end all.
Yeah, and where I was going with it too is you feel very confident. I feel like you've got tremendous stage presence, and I think you can learn that through it. And I can't wait to get out to one of your live shows one day and be a guest and cover one of those shows. And it seemed like, when you get a chance to open for a John Party or other big time artists that you've done, Morgan Wallen, throughout the same category, talk about that experience and just gaining that from the exposure you get, and then kind of watching them do, their show, which they're on another level, which is, crazy headlining, what have you. What you learn from that, what you take with it, what you bring back to your shows.
Yeah. So being on stage is my favorite part about what I do. It's also the easiest. Like singing on stage and performing is literally the easiest part about any artist. That's the easiest part. Well, hopefully. It's euphoric. I can't even put my finger on like one word to describe it. It's almost like you black out, but like in a way, because you just kind of like are in your own world. Like I love it. Like I said, being on stage is amazing. And I think one of the things I recently learned is, how like back in the day, and I don't even know if this is actually a thing, but they would say like artists should jog on a treadmill and sing, and that's how you'll build up your endurance. Okay, I believe it, because I did a show. I think it was, who was it this past year? That's Sam Hunt and Jordan Davis. The stage was like bigger. I don't know how to explain it. Like the thing that jolts out in the crowd was much longer than what I was used to. And I'm always like, I'm bouncing around. And I remember thinking, dang, I am out of breath. Like I work out, I'm pretty healthy. And, but yeah, I guess I took that away from that last show, that maybe I think it was Destiny's Child. Like
Wow, okay.
somebody way back in the day, I watched an interview and they were like, yeah, like we are made, like we have to jog on a treadmill and sing. And that's how we build that up. And I'm like, well, that makes sense because 95% of singing is breathing.
Mm-hmm.
And if you're running around, you're already panting like a dog. So, but yeah. And another thing I do that I always would suggest anybody to do that's worked for me, no matter how small the show, no matter how big, always have a recording of you on stage, because what I like to do is I like to go back and watch the videos and I'll be like, oh, what am I doing like with my hand like this? What is that? We can't do that. That looks ridiculous. Or I'll do something. I'm like, oh, wow, that looks great. I should do more of that. And because you don't, it kind of goes back to earlier. I was saying like, it's almost like you black out on stage, not in a bad way, like in the best way possible, because you're like lost in the moment and just so like focused and having such a good time. Like you lose yourself a little bit in the best way. And so you're not thinking so much about what you're doing. You're just like, you're in the moment. So looking back at those videos, you're like, oh, wow, that's what I looked like at that part. And that's what I was doing. And then you can learn from it, no matter how big the show, no matter how small. Like I have this thing, never told anybody this, but I have this thing where I want to cock my hand out. My husband calls it, you know, the dinosaur that has like, I don't know what movie it is. He's like, I got a big head and little arms. Like that. I always take one of like, I hold my mic with my right hand. One of my arms, I like will cock out like this sometimes. I don't know why I do it. And I don't even realize I'm doing it. And I'll look out in the crowd and my husband will be like, he's like, put the dinosaur arm down. And I'm like, oh my God. So yeah,
I love that.
You really don't know how you look on stage until you watch back those videos. And I actually learned that from a Dirk Bentley. He had an interview like forever ago, and he was saying that's what he would do. And I was like, wow, I never thought of doing that, like recording myself outside of like something that I'm going to post on the internet for promo.
Yeah.
But yeah.
I love that. And that's great advice to have for younger artists today, aspiring to get where you're at and kind of, you know, get far in their music career too, is to go back and critique themselves. I always do it after a football broadcast too. I do play-by-play for like high school, and, you know, I've done some college stuff in the past, and you go back and listen to yourself, not while you're doing it, but after the fact on the tape. And like, I said that on the broadcast and I meant to describe it, which is good feedback. And it's good things. It's the to-do list and to not do list and type thing. I love the dinosaur arm analogy.
Now everyone knows. Anybody that watches is going to be looking for my dinosaur arm.
Dinosaur arm there too. You've got I can't wait for the other tunes to come out on this record, so I encourage people to pre-order now for More Than a Bad Habit from Tracielynn out there too. Visit TracielynnMusic.com for more information there too. And also the other song we're going to talk about when we come back from break, that if you get pre-order now, you can hear out there across all the platforms, Faith in You, which is another fantastic tune across all the digital platforms. And I can't wait to ask you about a couple of more off there, including the title track, and it's coming out August 18th. 8 fantastic songs, her debut EP from Tracielynn out there too. Get a word in for our friends at Bangtail Whiskey, and of course Honky Tonk Texas coming back here. It is the Backstage Pass, powered by the Sports Guys podcast.com, and presented by our friends at Bangtail Whiskey, Honky Tonk Texas, and of course HighTideCountry.net. Give us a listen there too, and follow great independent music and great shows out there at HighTideCountry.net. Coming back, more with Tracielynn. Stay tuned. Go behind the scenes with some of the biggest artists in music today with the Backstage Pass, powered by the SportsGuysPodcast.com. Join Brandon Morrill and his co-host Kirsty Krause as they talk to rising stars and legends about their music careers. Listen to their latest tracks and learn fun facts about the men and women behind the music you love. And be sure to tune into the Backstage Pass Monday through Friday from 3:30 to 6:30, powered by the SportsGuysPodcast.com. And welcome into the Backstage Pass.
The Bangtail pour is comprised of a sweet corn mash base. The front has a subtle sweetness and not too sharp. It has notes of a medium char or white oak for a smoky flavor in the middle, and the tail has a super smooth and warm finish. And back here with Tracielynn on the Backstage Pass. So I got some great shows coming up too. If you guys want to check out the website, I'm going to run through a few of them here. August 17th, Westgate River Ranch, a songwriter series, 7 o'clock in River Ranch, Florida. August 17th, Chris Weaver, who had on a while back, always a cool
a cool dude out there, Chris Weaver Band, Eric Van Houten, you mentioned, working with a fantastic producer there. And then September the 23rd, it's the One Step Closer benefit concert at 7 o'clock in Harriman, Tennessee. I love this, a big one. October 13th, Tracielynn with Riley Green, Columbia, South Carolina at 7 o'clock. So be sure you guys check out TracielynnMusic.com, coming to a city near you. Let's talk about this particular tune with the pre-order now included, Faith in You. My God, I mean, you really bring out the vocals here. And man, if it's a beautiful song, beautiful ballad that really got my attention, I was sold, and I'm sure a lot of country music fans are going to feel the same way.
Yeah, I was more particular with this one because I hadn't released a slower song in a while. I think Your Whiskey was maybe the last one before that I released. Being independent, for whatever reason, I don't know why, it's harder to break into the industry with a slower song than it is a banger. But anyways, with this one, my goal for this was to take the listener on that journey that one would go through if it was their breakup. Like, I didn't want somebody, like, it kind of goes back to like my shows. I didn't want somebody just listening to the song. I wanted them to experience the emotion in that song. That's why it starts out, it's such a soft song. And then when the chorus hits, it's almost like you're a fly in the room. You're either watching this happen or you are the person going through the breakup. And so I think that we tackled this one really well. And I love it. It's a beautiful song. It definitely is vocally challenging because there is a lot of contrast between the verses and the chorus. There's a pretty high jump there. I remember even being in the studio, and I don't know if it was the organ player or somebody was like, "That's a big jump there, girl." And I was like, "Yeah, I know. Let's see if I can nail it. We'll see." No guarantee there. But yeah, I hope that one really just hits home with the right person who needs it, because it is one of those songs, you know, that is something you can experience through, especially through the production of it, the way that it sounds and the emotion put into it. Was like the biggest thing with that. I was like, I almost want to sound like sad, like I'm wailing out on the choruses. And so we did a good job on that one, and I really love it.
You really did roll out vocals and did it for me because I had to play it several times to really understand just so many amazing things you do, including we talked about All Goes South with your vocals and the voice, the texture, everything's so clear, and it really brings out the different octaves that you can hit too. I love it. The different runs that you do with your vocals. And the production, your instrumentation and producer on this particular record you mentioned has done a fantastic job. So I got to ask you about, before I get into the final segment here, the title track, More Than a Bad Habit. A little bit of backstory on this one.
About it. So this one, so basically an EP, like you'll have noticed, you know, being in the industry, is that normally a title track, whether it's an EP or if it's an album, it needs to be, it doesn't necessarily have to be a name of a song. It could be a line within one of the songs that you're releasing, whatever, but it needs to be something that encapsulates the EP and you. And so I was at a bar, you know, we live in Nashville, we go out to the bar sometimes. This was like maybe 6 months ago. I was at a bar with my husband and some friends, and I heard this guy standing next to me, and I don't remember word verbatim, but it was something along the lines of, "Hey dude, like, are you going to meet up with," let's call her Susie. I don't remember her name, but "Are you going to be meeting up with Susie tonight?" And then his friend turned to him, and I do remember this word verbatim. He said, "Nah, brah, that's just a bad habit." And so I immediately, I whip out my phone and I'm like, in my notes, I'm like, more than a bad habit. I gotta do something with that, because it irked me. I was like, if I can meet that girl right now, I would let her know that he just said this. Like, it irked me. It made me mad. And all it could do is make me think like, wow, I would never want to be somebody's bad habit. I just feel like that is like the bottom of the barrel of what you can be referred to on a male side or a female side, regardless. You don't want to be that. So anyways, I sat down, I wrote it, and I just felt like more than a bad habit is such a fun slogan to run with. And the whole song is, I won't give too much away about it, but
True.
It's talking about, I want to be more than a bad habit. I like you, so can I be more than a bad habit? So yeah, and I was just like, even from a merch standpoint, more than a bad habit is such like a universal fun slogan to run with. You could put it on a hat, you could put it on a t-shirt, and it's just fun. And so I was like, that's going to be the name of the EP. It's either going to be All Go South or More Than a Bad Habit. And I was like, More Than a Bad Habit. I don't know. It's
I
fun.
like it.
Music, I like a bad habit, just fun stuff. Yeah. So that's where it came from.
I love it. And I love the fact, put it on a hat, put it on a t-shirt, it will sell.
Yeah,
it just has a great
koozie, a beer koozie. I was like, that'll even be more fun because it's like the beer, more than a bad habit, So just something fun.
I can't wait to, without giving too much away, but I wanted to get a little backstory here. But this is cool to lead off a record, because I really feel like every song that sets the tone for the record, and something just tells me without hearing it yet, this Broadway Cowboy is going to do it for people. So without giving too much away, what was there kind of a bar story with this one, or just come natural?
No, there's a good story with this one. I freaking love this song. It's so fun. It's so quirky. It has country. It's got rock. It's just like, it's a banger. It's like the epitome of a country banger. But I was, let's call it 3 months ago, I was sitting, you can tell, I live like in downtown Nashville, right? And if you've been to Nashville, which you have, the bachelor parties, the bachelorette parties, they're everywhere all the time. And like everything is geared towards like wearing boots and wearing hats. So anyways, it's 9 a.m. I'm sitting on my balcony. I'm drinking my coffee. And I don't even think it was Friday. It was like in the middle of the week at like 9 a.m. I'm sitting out there and I hear this like John Deere green tractor trailer pulled down underneath my balcony, and they're blasting music. And I just hear hooting and hollering. And remember, it's 9 a.m. And I remember looking over my balcony, and it was a bunch of dudes with like these fresh, clean hats and like brand new boots. Like they probably literally just bought the buy two, get one free off Broadway the day before kind of thing. And they definitely were a few mimosas deep, safe to say. And all I could think was like, wow, look at all them Broadway cowboys, like, playing cowboy for the weekend. And right then, right there, my mind just like flooded with this idea. And I think that day I wrote the first verse and chorus, something like that, almost that. And then I had to step away. I'm not good at like nailing out a whole song in one day. I like bits and pieces. I got to step away from it and then come back to it. But yeah, that one was like done in like a couple of weeks, like production, everything, master, everything. And I actually called, funny story with that one was this guy I know, his name's Hayden Kaufman, and he has a song called Better Off. And when I was creating the demo for Broadway Cowboy with one of my good friends, Chris, we're just creating the demo, something to bring to the musicians once we get in the studio. The process, like a demo.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. So we're building out the demo, and he was like, so who are you going to use to like produce this? And I was like, I'm not really sure yet. Like there's this one song where I really love the production on it, and I'm thinking about reaching out to the producer who produced it. And Chris is like, well, what song? And I was like, it's the Better Off by Hayden Kaufman. And the funny thing is, Grady Saxman, who produced that, he's who played drums on my demo. And then he's one who produced that song. And we were like, oh my God. I was like, he's got to produce it. Like the stars have aligned. So I reached out. I got in the studio very soon, and we gave it a life, and I am so excited for it. I hope next time I hear music blasting off the tractor trailer, it's that song. So yeah, I'm really, really stoked about this one. I think we nailed it right on the head. It's a fun one. It is tongue in cheek. It's great.
I can't wait to hear that one too. Again, August 18th, More Than a Bad Habit from Tracielynn comes out, a debut EP. So make sure you guys go pre-order now on the social media out there too. Link is in there.
Please.
And pre-save it and get the whole thing 18th or the night of the 17th, midnight of the 17th into the 18th. You guys can hear it there too in 3 songs we've talked about here on the show here too. Well, I tell you what, let's do a little rapid fire, because you and I could go on forever. I hosted these shows for a long time, and I could go into some really down some avenues that are really good and down some avenues that really take a lot of deep thought. But I can't wait to meet you in person and do this live in Nashville when we get there, hopefully for CRS 2024 coming up there, which is going to be back in February again, February 28th, 29th, and March 1st of next year. So looking forward to hopefully getting back there and doing some cool things. As far as fun, you and the downtime, I guess whatever downtime there is, outside of music, what are some of your other hobbies?
I love to cook.
Okay.
I love cooking. Not so much baking. I haven't mastered that, but I love to cook. I love being outside, and I have an unhealthy obsession with my dog. And I love exercising. Like I love, not so much to get like built or anything, but I just feel like it's a good release. But yeah, I would say my second favorite thing is cooking. Third, actually, I love to travel too, but I get to do a lot of that already, even though it's like more work related. But yeah, cooking. I love to cook.
And that's where I was going to go. Favorite dish to kind of get into. What do you like to make when you cook?
I like chicken marsala.
Okay.
I love making chicken marsala. I like making, I like lasagna. I do lasagna sometimes with venison because my husband, he hunts. And it's like healthier. It's leaner anyways. I don't know. I don't really have like a favorite, but yeah, that's the first one.
I like that. Now, when it comes to, and Nashville's got some great restaurants. What are your favorite places too? I know for me, I could name 2 or 3 right off. I didn't get a chance to try Hattie B's. I walked right by it, walking right by Bridgestone. We did some coverage of the SEC basketball tournament, which was there back in March. But Hattie B's, other places you like to dine in Nashville?
Yeah. So if you're looking for like the, Nashville hot chicken, stuff like that, Party Foul's always safe for that kind of stuff. Having lived here though for 3 years, I don't eat as much like of the Nashville hot chicken and the fried stuff because I eat that enough already. But like really, really good restaurants. One of my favorites is Adele's, and it's very middle of the road pricing. It's not cheap. It's not expensive. It's like $20, $25 for an entree. Very good. A new one that just opened. I love red wine. Like red wine is outside of like liquor. Red wine, love it. It's called 60 Vines. And you can order flights of different kinds of wines, and their food is phenomenal. It's in the I'm not going to say this right, or maybe I will. The Fifth and Broad. I think that's the name of the building. Fifth and Broad, right on Broadway, and it's 60 Vines. It's on the top floor. Amazing, phenomenal. And then those are my two favorite. Two favorite.
I like that. I can't wait to check that out next time too, and definitely love to meet up for a drink up there too, and do a little fun stuff, which would be cool. Definitely would try, especially on a rooftop. You gotta love a restaurant on the rooftop.
Oh yeah. Definitely on a nice night, or actually it can be kind of chilly if they got a little fire going on. Yeah,
that's always because in February it does get cold. It stays cold.
Very cold.
That's 2 years I've been there, rainy, cold, both years. I had one sunny day during the last 2 CRS events we've been a part of. All right, do you remember the first song you ever sang live on stage?
Somewhere Over the Rainbow.
All right.
It was either the Star Spangled Banner or it was Somewhere Over the Rainbow. And one I sang at a women's national NCAA basketball tournament was the national anthem. And then the other one was, I think they might've been in the same year, but I was like 6 or 7 when I sang it. And Somewhere Over the Rainbow was maybe kindergarten or first grade. It was one of those where like I couldn't perform in the talent show until it was either kindergarten or first grade because I wanted to. I went to preschool and everything, and I wanted to be in the talent show that my school was having, and I wasn't allowed to until I was a certain age. And so the first year I finally was of age, I sang Somewhere Over the Rainbow. So it's one of those. And I had a stuffed animal Toto and everything and the whole 9 yards. But yeah.
I love that too. When it comes to the Preds games or kind of working a little sports here too, husband, sports fan, any teams beside maybe the Preds you guys root for?
I don't know. I think when we moved here, we just became Preds fans.
Okay.
Preds and Titans. So like
that's the norm. Yes, the Titans. Yeah.
Yeah. Outside of that, like SEC, ACC world, I went to University of South Carolina and he went to Clemson. So we don't watch football games together.
The rivalry
Oh yeah, if
continues.
we do, he normally will end up sleeping on the floor. So
Let's sleep on the floor. No? That too. Well, I love this album. I love her as an artist, man. She's one of the next breakout ones I've got my eye on, and then some. And of course, you guys know I have a pretty good eye and ear for talent here on this show. And definitely, when I say breakout, I mean that from my heart out there too, because I love country music and what it stands for too. August 18th, pre-order now, pre-save the link on Tracy's fan pages, social media pages out there. More Than a Bad Habit is the debut EP with 8 fantastic songs off of there. Check her out at Tracielynn with 2 N's, TracielynnMusic.com. Hey, always great to put this together. Great to get to know you for the first time. And I hope that, new music's released and we get back to Nashville. Come back anytime. Hope you enjoyed it.
yeah, absolutely. Thank you, Brandon, for having me. And anytime you let me know. Once I release it, we can jump back on here and we can talk about it. And you can say, I like this one. I don't really like this one. And I'll just take it all. And it's all good.
That's a good idea. We're going to definitely arrange that. And I will definitely hit you up there when after it's released on the 18th. We've got some openings at the end of the month. Let's jump back on and talk about, now that I get a chance to listen to those songs and dive into them. We'll break them down here coming up in late August to have Tracy back on the program. Tomorrow, Kelly Lang will join us here. And, of course, Friday, great rock group, the Dead Daisies out of Canada. They've been doing it for a long time. Looking forward to talking to Doug with a new project and an album, I believe, coming up there. They're due August 18th. Whole lot more Heath Wright from Ricochet and a lot more coming up here on the Backstage Pass, powered by the Sports Guys podcast.com and presented by our friends over at Bangtail Whiskey and, of course, Honky Tonk Texas. Catch us at hightidecountry.net. Go get the album now, More Than a Bad Habit, and check her out at TracielynnMusic.com. We'll see you guys on the show tomorrow. Kelly Lang, 4 o'clock at the Sports Guys podcast.com. Until then, take care.